This is the result of one game of Russian roulette. Russian roulette is a game of chance where a player puts a round into a revolver, spins the cylinder, aims the muzzle at themselves or their opponent, and pulls the trigger. If the loaded chamber aligns with the barrel, the bullet will fire, severely wounding or killing the player. The first trace of Russian roulette can be found in the short story The Fatalist, which was a part of a collection of books called A Hero of Our Time, written by Mikhail Lermontov in 1840. In the story, a lieutenant of the dragoons of the Tsar, Volok, accepts a gamble from the main protagonist, Gregory Alexandrovich Pechorin, who claims there is no predestination and proposes a bet in order to prove it, laying about 20 gold pieces onto a table. Volek takes a random pistol from its nail, puts the gun to his forehead, and asks Gregory to throw a card in the air. As soon as the card hits the ground, he pulls the trigger, but the gun doesn't fire. He then cocks the gun again, aims at a service cap, and pulls the trigger, and a shot rings out. The term, however, was not used until 1937, when it was used in a short story by another author, Georges Serdez. However, the newspapers didn't start using it until 1938, when there were reports of young men attempting it. The earliest case was in Austin, Texas. Of course, it was in Texas. On June 28, 1914, Gavrilo Princip shoots Franz Ferdinand and his wife Sophie in Sarajevo. After this, Europe is thrown into 4 years of flames, and the course of history is altered forever, in ways everyone never saw coming. But how does this all connect to a game of Russian roulette? Well, every assassination or death of government leaders like kings and emperors throughout history had never had the kind of effect on the world as the assassination of Franz Ferdinand did. It was like a game of Russian roulette, and every time a leader was killed, it was like the trigger was being pulled, but the loaded chamber would not always be lined up with the barrel, until Gavrilo Princip fired the shots that killed Franz Ferdinand and his wife. That was when the loaded chamber aligned with the barrel in this metaphorical game of Russian roulette. And with it, Europe would go down a dark path of poverty, famine, and death that would last until after 1945, and in Eastern Europe all the way till past the early 1990s, and arguably still into today. It also saw the world accelerate in terms of technology, some for the better and some for the worst. In the end, after this moment, the world was changed, and the after effects it had would be unimaginable to anyone at the time, and it's all thanks to this one game of Russian roulette.